We drove past a field of abandoned kites, lost in the trees from this summer's picnic. The city was experiencing the last few days of faded summer, the sky chalky, spluttering exhaust mixed with the pale pink and purple hues that were still visible from the countryside. We passed rows of houses with little concrete island play parks, marooned in the middle of the road, where people gathered, dog walking or deep in conversation upon benches. Beneath them, trees burst out from cracks in the pavement. This place was honest in its dilapidation. Like me, it had lost its sense of identity. Seeking enlightenment with other cultures, out of this self-imposed anonymity, it cried out for the impressions of others. Where even the statues had been lent the interpretation of some illegitimate hand by crude examples of graffiti. I wanted to leave my mark here, but I was just as unsure of myself, just as disenfranchised and far away from home as the rest of them. Dressing me each morning was a struggle for you. Clothes that were understood by me from a practical perspective, like the orange puffer jacket you kept hanging on the door, or about your body to keep you sheltered during the cold winter months spent in the caravan outside. I much preferred shoes that lit up with each step, which were wore out after a week of constant wear, only to be tossed back into the cupboard and replaced by the sparkling welly boots I refused to part with. I remember glaring at you from the mirror with a persecutory stare after being strong-armed into a dress. That whole morning I refused to hold your hand on the way to church, and blowing my nose with such loud protestation that I drowned out the sounds of the congregation. Back home, I stood over the edge of the pond with my eyes closed. I leapt waist deep into the primordial ooze, which caused my dress to rise above my head, the garish pattern of pink and check rippling in front of my eyes with such vibrant intensity before I was pulled to the surface. It was winter on this side of the hemisphere when I arrived here. We walked for miles until dogs barked and chased us far away from the ramshackle streets of your hometown. I held your hand and carried your tired body draped over my own under the stifling heat of the low sun. Through the long blades of grass, I stretched out and listened to the sounds of you playing in the far distance. It makes me cry to remember how my memory has alchemized that silver necklace that hung around your neck, transforming light into gold, and how you soothed my sickness with heavy and undemanding of me kisses over my face. I clung to you, your t-shirt drenched with the sour sweat which dries to a pallor on the long and melancholy walk back home, the smell of which I automatically recall with the same sadness as the smell of fresh cut grass and the nausea of sweet honeysuckles in the cool darkness of my garden back home. I will never forget how we discovered those oranges at the foot of a nearby tree. You pressed the ripe fruit into my hand for me to peel, still piercing my memory with an accuracy that removes me from the scene so completely. Parched, we shared the orange. I willed the both of us health and happiness. This is something I will every time I recall how the juice ran down our chins as we laughed together, its skin translucent like the hands of an elderly woman. Still, I often lie with my head cradled on my grandmother's lap as she peels away the skin of this bright fruit, and simply remember.